Hello, this is Dog Addict, the dog trainer for real life situation. So let's look at temperament and personality today in dogs. Most people try to judge every dog using one dog. What I mean is this. Now, in a pack of dog or in a litter of puppies, they all come from the same parents. They all grow up together, but they can never behave the same. They can never act the same. You will have some dogs who will be very courageous. You will have some dogs who will be very shy and timid. You will have some dogs who will be somewhere in between. So it's like a normal human family. You are not exactly the same with your siblings in terms of behavior, in terms of appearance, in terms of how you view the world, in terms of what you like, what your interests are, what your hobbies are. You are not completely the same with your siblings. And so when people try to judge dogs based on personality and temperament, and they say, oh, this dog is the same with this particular dog, it's something wrong to say. Or when you try to say, okay, because they come from the same litter, then they must act and behave the same. No, it's completely wrong. Dogs have different personality, different temperament, we call it temperament, different temperaments. They act and behave different from each other, just like humans. Two dogs cannot behave exactly the same way. They can't develop exactly the same way. There are some dogs that develop faster than other dogs, even though they come from the same litter. There are dogs that have the courage to approach unknown objects, unknown people. Immediately they see them or meet them for the first time. And there are dogs who will hesitate to approach strange objects or strange people when they see them for the first time. So personality and temperament differ between dogs. So two dogs can never be exactly the same. Two dogs can never develop exactly the same. So we should always look at this when we try to judge dog, or we try to condemn a particular dog based on breed standard, or based on how we feel the dog is supposed to be, judging by other members of the pack, judging by other members of the litter. We must always consider that fact. People make this mistake most times when they want to do personal protection and bite work. You know, they say this particular dog is slow, this particular dog can't bark or can't do bite work, or don't have the courage to do the job. But what we fail to understand is the dog's development at that particular time might not have gotten to the point where the dog becomes courageous enough to face certain situation. So we must always consider those factors. There are some dogs who are very courageous from a younger age. There are some dogs who always want to do things, like they always want to walk, and there are some dogs whom you have to use different approach to build those drives in them. So we must always look at these things before we condemn a dog or before we classify a dog. So temperament and personality difference, it's always there, just like humans. There are people who are afraid of heights. There are people who are afraid of water, swimming. But when you actually teach them how to do these things, they may be able to overcome that fear. Some clearly never overcome the fear, but they may be able to get to the point where they become more comfortable being under those situations. So if a dog is afraid of sound, for instance, a dog is afraid of cars, for instance, and you have other members of the pack who are not afraid of the dog, of those cars or sounds, it doesn't really condemn that particular dog. It simply means that the dog is not courageous enough to face that situation. So you need to desensitize the dog to that particular thing which the dog is afraid of. You need to show the dog that the dog is not supposed to be afraid of that thing in the first place. So we need to recondition the mind of the dog. So personality and temperament traits, it's always there in dogs. So we must not condemn or judge dogs so quickly based on their temperament, and we must always recognize the fact that dogs are different from each other. And also, when we are pairing dogs or when we want to keep dogs together, we must also consider these factors before we keep two dogs together, or before we pair dogs if you have so many dogs in your home or in your kennel, whatever. So you must always consider this when you want to pair dogs, when you want to train dogs. Always recognize that dogs have different temperaments and that two dogs can never be the same, and also the development will never be the same. So that's it for today. This is Dog Addict.